It's time to test your knowledge and show off your skills at the second annual Next Gen CNY Trivia and Karaoke event. Sharkies, October 10th at 5 o'clock. First for continuing education insurance trivia, hosted by the one and only Tim Dodge, recently recognized with the Spirit of Education Award. Then enjoy comedy from Michael Bullock from Diligent House Productions.
I have started dating again. Yep. Psychos need love too. That's right. Another girl, she said, just turned 40. Bring it. Bring what? Cake? Ice cream? Plate steps? What do you want me to bring? I don't even know where it is. I wasn't invited.
Then we rock the night away with karaoke with all your insurance pros and industry partners.
This time, ooh yeah, this time with me you get by.
Don't forget to bring canned goods as we continue to support the food bank of CNY. A special thank you to all of our sponsors. Look forward to seeing you there October 10th, 5 o'clock, Sharkies Downstairs Event Center.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's Craig Van Epps from Haylor, Freyer, and Coon and Haylor Company, and I'm back with Jackie Kelly-Caden from RLK General Insurance. And we're back with another episode of Next and Now, and this is our sales-themed episode.
Yeah, it's our virtual too. It's our first virtual one.
Virtual,
so yeah, we're seeing how this works, and this will be nice for the future if guests come on from out of state. So it's nice. It gives us some nice flexibility. We have Renee Licata from your very own Haylor
From our own Haylor group, yes.
Haylor group, yes. Top sales producer. So we really wanted to highlight her ideas on sales, how she got started in the business, why she loves it so much. And then we have Emmanuel Osuyah on. Oh my goodness, he's amazing. Has his own agency, has a great origin story, starting out at his mother-in-law's Allstate agency, and then moving into his own agency and coming out of failure, like we talked about in the Passions and Dreams episodes, and how much failure can shape you and drive you, and also the incredible story from when he was 10 and the vision, just manifestation and the importance of that too. So, and all the other things that both of them do in their lives. So yeah, it was a great episode.
Good afternoon, everybody. Craig Van Epps here from Haylor, Freyer, and Coon and Haylor Company, alongside virtually this time, Jackie Kelly-Caden from RLK General Insurance right down the street in beautiful Syracuse, New York. And we're back with another episode of Next and Now. And this time we're talking about sales. And what better guest to have on than our own resident rock star here at Haylor, Renee Licata. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, absolutely. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Renee, for coming on. You are the top sales producer at Haylor at Haylor. And so I'm wondering, how did you get into sales in general, and then in insurance sales in particular? And then what do you love about it?
Absolutely. So it's funny, honestly. I completely fell into sales. So I graduated with a degree of communications in business and a journalism minor when I was in college. And, starting out at 22 years old, you really don't know what you want to do with your life. And so I was looking at, like, back in the day, this is when we had the big computers. I don't even know how to explain them. They took up your whole desk.
Yeah.
And I think dial-up or something. I don't remember. And, I'm looking at all the different job postings, and it's funny because you apply as a recent graduate for hundreds of jobs. And there was one in particular that came up, and it was for an inside sales job. And it was like, you must be a good writer, you must be outgoing, all these attributes it had. I'm like, that's me. Like, that's bigger me. I thought about doing sales. I thought I was going to be more of like a PR major, or, do something like public, finance or something. So anyway, so I had applied for the job, and it worked out perfectly. You had to do a couple writing samples, 2 or 3 interviews. I got it. It was an entry-level position, but it was in IT technology sales. So that's how I started in sales. I honestly thought, like I said, I'd be working, writing press releases all day or something. And so that's kind of what started my career in sales. I stayed there about 5 years, I believe, and got a really good, strong foundation in sales from the two people that were mentoring me, which was really nice. And then from there, I kind of just kept expanding my career. I went to another company, and you keep learning and growing.
And did you stay in IT and then you pivoted into insurance, or?
Yes. Oh, yes. And I'm so sorry I didn't answer that second part of the question. So yeah, so I stayed in IT sales for about 12 years. So I got a really good base of understanding sales, understanding management, understanding operations. And then it was very interesting. I completely fell into insurance. It was not a plan. It wasn't something I really even understood. I didn't know what an insurance broker was before. And it really shows that if I can do it, anyone can, even if you don't come from an insurance world. Because, when I started working at Haylor, I had to understand truly everything from the ground up and get licensed. So and I just kind of fell on the opportunity. I knew that they were hiring for someone that was retiring in the collegiate division at the time. I just came in and kind of the same thing, round of interviews. And I just felt in my heart that it was a right move for me. I really try to go with my gut on stuff, my gut instinct. And again, I kind of had that same feeling that this was going to be a really good opportunity. I knew there was going to be a strong learning curve and it was going to be tough. I didn't know how tough at the time. It was way tougher, but I did think there was a huge opportunity, and I ended up being correct. So it's been a great experience.
And maybe, and that is that why you love it too? You like to challenge yourself. I think maybe that's what you love about the sales in general, is like that challenge that, as you kind of get into a routine and then you just want a little bit more.
I think to always be growing, always challenging myself. I don't like to be stagnant in my career. It's just kind of the way it's been programmed. It's not like I've had to try it. It's just kind of my personality. So I think this was a really good opportunity because, not only the role itself, you're always building your book, you're always learning, but also how many times have we all talked about the aging population in insurance?
Yeah.
And there's so much opportunity in our age group right now and younger, obviously. So I think for all those reasons, it just ended up being a really good fit.
It was perfect.
Excellent. And you've obviously found your way and, over the years become very successful. And there's a lot of hunting, right? Whether you're building your book and you're reaching out to people, what are some tips and tricks that you could share with our audience? What are some recommendations as people set up their days or their weeks or their months as they're going after some new opportunities? Have you found emailing is better or calling, or what's the combination or the magic formula that you found that helps you build strong relationships?
Yeah, great question, Craig. I mean, I think there's some very specific things that I do that I think a lot of, successful salespeople, or no matter what your craft is, right? They do to be successful. And then I think there's some general things, and then there's some very specific things. But to kind of start just speaking generally, I find that, no matter what you're doing, meeting your goal, it's going to take calculated effort and routine. And so one of the things that I've tried to do, and no matter what I do, whether it's work related, or even like recently, I was reorganizing all my closets, right? So no matter what you're doing, I think that you have to really build healthy habits and make things intentional and add them to your daily, weekly, monthly lifestyle. Otherwise, you're not going to do it. So you have to create that intentional plan that will lead to more opportunities for success. And as I've mentored other salespeople, I give them examples and I say, listen, just take a step back and think about it for a second. It's evident in so many success stories. Think about a successful athlete. They're not going to be successful without eating right, working out every day, working harder and smarter than everyone else. A producer meeting their sales goals. They're just not meeting them. They're doing all of that daily activity and work in the background. Or a chemist that's curing a disease. They're working every day to build these habits. So I think that's part of it. And I think I read somewhere that it takes like 18 days or something to build a healthy routine or to build a habit. And so I think the key is you gotta keep at it till it sticks and be very intentional. And then I think the other thing I heard was, and I believe it's true, somewhere, and so I read a lot of sales books and management books in my life. And one of them said it can take over 8 reach outs before a prospect gets back to you. So think about that for a second. I think I told you that, Jackie, the other day.
Yes, you did.
8 reach outs. How many producers or people in general have the tenacity or the wherewithal or the nerve to call someone 8 times?
I
They're
know.
going to be like, you're my stalker. Like, why are you calling me? And so, for me, I alternate between calling and emailing, but I really
Okay.
do it that many times for a good opportunity. And I think a lot of times people will do a call list. Do they download or something and call everyone once and then go, okay, yeah, I did my call list. I'll go back to it in a month. No, 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 no. You got to keep it those same targets over and over again until they get back to you
I
and
love
Yeah.
build
that.
extra ones. So,
So be intentional, be consistent, and
yep.
you gotta be able to take that rejection, right?
Yeah.
To put yourself in position to be that name that that individual thinks of or that business
Yes.
thinks of when there's time for a change or when something goes awry with their current relationship. Let me call
Exactly.
that person that's been calling me for the last 8 weeks or 8
100%,
months. Yes,
100%.
love it.
And sometimes they'll even joke, oh my goodness, Renee, you wouldn't leave me alone, but now, I'm really having that bad experience.
Yeah.
Like, I just laugh. I mean, what are you going to say? You're short, sweet, to the point. I mean, and if you space it out enough, you're not really being that annoying to them. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, and you're actually, like you said, you're putting yourself in front of them. They might not just be able to pick up the phone, and so many times, even for on when I'm seeing, and I'm thanking people who try and who give me a call the second, third, fourth time, because I'm like, oh my goodness, I could not get to that phone call. Thank God you called me again. So even on our side of it, when someone's doing that to us, I appreciate that. Like, oh, thank goodness.
yes, absolutely.
So then, what would you say to me? I've been in the business 3 years. I was a teacher. So the rejection piece, I taught sixth grade. So hearing no is not a problem for me. But what would you say to me just as I want to step up? I know enough in sales to be dangerous. I've used a lot of my teaching as a transferable skill.
Awesome.
What would you say to me specifically, which you've said, but if you could just let our guests know, what are some things that I can do to step up my sales game? I think for me, the tenacity piece, I have the tenacity, but I can't believe sometimes how long it takes to close a piece of business, a commercial account specifically. I came in on the personal line side, and so you're binding those things in the same day.
Yes.
Where commercial, you got to really cultivate the relationship. It takes some time.
Mhm.
So my patient situation is always tricky. I'm like, why is this taking so long? So
Yes. Yes.
what some advice would you give to brand new sales agents? Like, what did your mentors tell you when you first came in? And then what would you say to me now I'm 3 years in that I should be doing to step it up?
Yeah, no, these are so many things. Honestly, Jackie, were going through my mind when you were talking because there's so many things you go through. But I think a couple key pointers or things that I would say if you were starting out or things that I did that I think helped. So one thing is learn the business from the ground up. Do not take shortcuts. I literally sat with an account manager for the first year of my insurance career. I
Okay.
sat with them. I learned how to bill. I learned how to, do all the account management things, how to go in the carrier portals and download ID cards and like all of these basic things that although I might not do it forever, I wanted to truly understand because how am I going to sell something if I can't answer every single question that comes up? So I think that's one of the biggest things is thoroughly learning it.
Mm,
Another thing that I think is people have to get past is you have to have grit. You have to have that, like you said, tenacity to do it. Anyone can do anything. It is not some special skill that someone can't learn. We
oh,
all
I
can if we have the grit and the heart to do it. Like nobody's going to tell me that someone can't do this job if they don't work hard enough. It's truly about the hard work, in my opinion.
mhm.
That's really what it's about. And you know, I would say besides that, the other piece, and again, I know you and I were when we were chatting, just as friends the other day, we were chatting about it. The other piece that I think is so important is becoming a subject matter expert and just learning that skill and creating a niche. So, like for example, my niche is college and universities. So I've honed in on that niche and I truly understand it. And again, I've heard so many experts say a lot of the best salespeople or the best, experts in the world, it's because they're not generalists. They really picked like one or two things. And our
Yeah,
agency is specifically set up like that. Like we have
it is.
people that are experts in municipality, people that are experts in trucking, people that are experts in mobile homes, personal lines, like you said. And so I think that's been very helpful too. So I think there's some like general things like not giving up, having that grit. And then I think there's some business sense things like really become your subject matter expert and 1, 2, or 3 things. I would say no more than 2 or 3.
Yeah, you said that for me 3, so I've had to kind of think through what that on the commercial lines. Obviously, we do a lot of personal, but on the commercial line side, as we want to grow into that space, is really focusing, Jackie. You can't do everything.
Yes, yes.
You have to focus on those. You said that 2 or 3 things that I like to do, that I can speak well to, and so
Yes.
I've started to really think through that, because at first I was like, women-owned businesses, and like, hello,
Yes,
you
yes.
know, that's a
It's going to
million
be a
different
small pool.
categories.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank
It's going to
you.
be a small
So,
pool of people too. I mean, if you think about it, and it's going to be so vast, you're not going to know where to start.
exactly,
Yep.
exactly. And then really hone in and then become an expert at those 3 things that I decide to do. So,
I love it.
That's great advice. Now, what also have you found is a common hot button maybe that helps you drive a wedge in a current relationship that a prospect may have with their current agent and helps you become their trusted advisor, helps you get your foot in the door, so to speak, and become that new relationship that they're going to be going to? And what components do you think really drive the best overall client experience?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things that I do, and I think a lot of people probably do this, whether they know it or not. But I think so. The first thing is you don't want to overpressure someone. I know a lot of salespeople come in and they send an email and they're like, "What 3 times days can you meet? And what's the next step? And if you do this, I'm going to expect you to do that." You know what I mean? They kind of get into
Yes.
this back and forth, and it works for some people. And I'm not here to judge. If it works for you, great. But I really go in with like a way more relaxed style where yes, I'm on the ball. Yes, I follow up when I say I'm going to, but I go more of I just want to get to know you better. I want to
mm,
understand how your program works. Please do not think, like, I was just on a new business call this week and I said, or yeah, actually that last week. And I said, I don't want you to feel pressured. I don't want you to, I really just wanted to get to know you. I want to understand your program. You kind of chat with them. They put their guard down. And then I said, and I would love to show you this, no rush, but I'd love to show you, our blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah, let's set that up, and email me right back. So it's like after, our meeting. So it's like, I think that a lot of it is you can't really, I personally put that extra pressure on someone. I think just being more relaxed, because it's got
Mhm.
to be a 2-way street. It's not, I think the key there is it's not me trying to sell you something. It's got to be a win-win. Yes, I'm selling you something, but guess what? You're getting all of this value back. I am saving you work. I'm saving you time. I'm doing all these resources your other broker didn't do. So you kind of have to like educate them at the same time, but really show them like it's not a rush. And then I think also what it leads into. So Craig, I answered your question, but what
Yeah.
it leads into is I'm a firm believer, and this is like my little saying of people do not buy again, with logic. They buy with emotion and they justify with logic. Think about that for a second.
That's very
okay.
true. I love that.
So
buy-
they're going to say, I bought from Renee because she had the solution. She was, she was right on. She did stuff my current broker didn't. But at the end of the day, who wants to work with you because of you, right? They could
Right.
work with 40 other people. So I do believe that's a big thing as well. So I think getting to know that person, being your genuine self, not just thinking of it like this is a commission for me, just genuinely being a good person. I think that really goes along with people.
I love that. So people buy with emotion, justify with logic.
Yep.
And I also love what you said with your approach. You're approaching it. I want to get to know you better. I want to get to understand your business better.
Yes.
Let them talk, you listen, and then you
Yes.
can put the solution in front of them that makes the most sense. I love that.
Exactly. And you don't want to go in, I know like the wedge approach is very common. And yeah, I do the wedge approach, but you don't want to come in and automatically they get defensive. Like they're an
Mhm.
idiot and they chose this broker and they're not
Right.
giving them the service they need, right? Because what good does that do? It doesn't do good at all. But just understanding and hearing them and saying, oh, this is so awesome. We do this, like, and just being positive about it, I think makes the world difference.
I love that. We're going to take that away. That's going to be, we took away the Kristen Martin piece on that first podcast. For this one, it's going to be you, you buy with emotion, you justify with logic.
Yep.
I love that. And to keep that in mind as you approach your sales.
Absolutely.
Awesome advice. And thank you for taking the time with us, Renee. I really appreciate
Oh,
it.
welcome. I'm honored. I'm so appreciative that you asked me to be on, and I'm again honored for the opportunity. So thank you.
Oh my goodness. It's our honor and pleasure,
Aw.
truly.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's Craig Van Epps here from Haylor, Freyer, and Coon and Haylor Company, alongside Jackie Kelly-Caden from RLK Insurance. And we're back with our sales episode of Next and Now. And today we have Emmanuel Osuyah from Alpha Direct Agency with us to talk some sales. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel, for coming on. We had a great conversation on our way to Blue Line Agency, Kelly Gagno, your bestie,
Yeah.
the Tupper Lake Golf tournament. And we were talking about your insurance origin story and how you got into sales. And then you shared an amazing prediction that you had, or a vision of yourself, and I'd love you to share that. So how you got into sales and insurance, and then that beautiful story from when you were a little boy predicting your success.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks for that intro. Well, how I got into insurance, first of all, I was a banker, and right around the year 2004, I quit my job as a banker. I just wanted something else. I'll tell you more about what prompted that something else shortly, but I bought my mother-in-law's Allstate agency, then came into the insurance business. About a year and a half later, realized Allstate was not going well. They really didn't have an appetite for new business in Washington Heights. And so I turned it into Alpha Direct Insurance, put my own sign outside, and I started to write one policy at a time. So just sort of built a scratch agency. And over the years, we've grown as high as 19 employees with 4 locations, et cetera, et cetera. So grateful for the trajectory. Now, the original story that we were talking about that day, I don't share it a lot, but I share it a lot with younger kids. Because kids, we tend to have this mindset that we'll be something when we grow up, and that's the way we're primed. Hey, what are you going to be when you grow up? So you think you do nothing now until you grow up. But the reality is that's not the case. So here's how my story went. As an African kid, your parents believe that if they spare the rod, they spoil the child, period. So that's just how it works. It's not right or wrong.
Ghana, yes. Boom.
Exactly. It's not right or wrong. That is just the way. End of story, period.
Yes.
So you'll catch your rod very often, and it was one of those things. But in my culture, you have complete privacy if you go in the bathroom. So that's where I would hide. I would run in the bathroom, sit there to get away from my dad, let him cool down a little bit, right? It could be something small, it could be something big. You never know. And so I got bored sitting on the toilet, and I would count the tiles. After a quick while, I realized I could count. I could sit down and just say the total number of tiles, all 4 sides of the bathroom. I figured it out. So that got boring. I started playing this figurine game where I would see myself as a grown up in the future. I got married at 25. My wife was not Nigerian, so she brought this fresh culture into my life with different kind of food. I had a black Mercedes. We had 2 kids, a boy and a girl. I had a long driveway getting into my big white house at the end of the way. The garage was there, and we had a dog. And I would play this thing over and over and over again. It was a nice little escape to not worry about what was going on outside the bathroom doors. Well, I didn't know this thing was known as visualization. I was just a kid. I was 10 years old. I probably stopped the practice by the time I was 15 because I didn't remember replaying that for much more than 5 years. I'd grown up, gone to college in my 20s and beyond. Well, one day I looked back, and lo and behold, I did start my business at age 29, or I was just about to turn 30, just like I would envision. I made a lot of money. I had a black Mercedes. Did marry a non-Nigerian with 2 kids. And we lived in a big white house with a long driveway in New York at the time. So it's just really mind-blowing. I don't understand what makes those things happen, but I've read many years later now over 900 books about different topics. But across the board, every time I come across the concept of visualization, don't worry about how it works, visualize it, hold it, and somehow it happens. So here I am today, still learning how to practice that and visualize a lot of other things, including the team that we have today. It was all visualized, and here we are.
That was what was so riveting as I was driving. I'm like, you and I'm reading a book on routines and your morning, especially as an entrepreneur and a business owner, and getting
Yeah.
that right. And they add on, I know about affirmations and meditation and
Yes.
prayer,
Yes.
obviously, but he talks so specifically about visualization, visualizing
Yeah.
your success, visualizing your sales goal. And I'm like you, like, what is it going to matter if I actually,
Yeah.
if I don't, I can say it. I'll just say I'm going to grow my business to this amount. I'm going to have this many sales this month. Why do I actually have to sit and be quiet and
Mhm.
visualize it? And this is what you're speaking to, the power of your mind at a little boy.
Yeah.
And then it comes to pass to the point of the driveway and the
Yes.
house and the
Yes.
black
All the way.
Mercedes.
Eh, Details matter. That's what I can tell you. Details matter. And I continue to practice it today. And, that's sitting in silence and just observing. So what I've learned over time is we don't understand, at a minimum, we're three-dimensional, right? There are more dimensions, but mind, body, and spirit. And so what you're doing by visualizing it is that you're telling your subconscious that it's important to you. It's the same way if you focus on a problem, you see more of it, right? So you're selling to your subconscious that this stuff bothers me. I'm dwelling on it. So I either want more of it or I'm worrying enough about it that I want it to go away. So instead of putting your mind on what you don't want, it's just a simple practice like what you were saying, of putting your mind on what you do want. So you sell the message to your subconscious that goes to work on that. Give it a label, God, universe, what have you. Somehow it just happens. Even if you don't believe it, the good news is if it results in positive results, hey, give it a go, give it a try. That's it. If it doesn't yield a result, try something else. But we would do, we lose nothing by trying, basically.
You lose nothing by trying. Exactly. And you said, well, what is your goal when I was in the car? And I said something like, well, in 5 years. And you said you sound a little hesitant as
Yeah.
you say that. And so get confident about what your goal is and then state
Yes.
it. And then you don't maybe have to put 5 years. Why can't that be next year?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
So,
If you put it out there, it's gonna wait. Your
yeah.
call. You don't want it now,
Yeah.
you want it later. Your call.
Yep.
I love that. That's an incredible story. And you put it out there, right? Right. But without the dreams become nothing without the action. So let's not miss that you put in the effort. And now here you are, 4 offices, 19 team members. So we fast forward to 2024. You're deep in the insurance world. And here we are in a very hard market time. How has that impacted you and your sales process? And how is the conversation different with your commercial and your personal lines folks?
That's a great question. The first thing that comes to mind is how difficult this season is, right? We're in 18 states, licensed in 18 states with offices in 3 markets. And it's really interesting to learn that many of the things that we used to do that just worked, they're not enough today, right? The ways that we trained our staff, the ways that we access markets and carriers, that conversation is changing on a daily basis. Carriers are pulling out of our markets, et cetera, et cetera. So some things we still do the same way. Other things we've had to just vamp into a new version. One of the things I've put in place with my team on the sales side, because we have multiple groups, right? We have the sales team, we have the service team, the retention team, and what have you. We hold meetings daily. So from the sales team standpoint, we have daily huddles at 10 a.m. We just kind of talk about what's going on, where the bottlenecks are, sort of support each other through the bottlenecks. You might have a carrier you're not having success with. The other person on the team will say, hey, I just got the underwriter to respond favorably. So we're helping each other in that way. The summary of what I'm experiencing is that when we work together, we get through this rough season together. We get through it better. The other thing we put in place is we have something called the classy exit. It's not uncommon that a client will find something else and they need to move on. They need to move to a different carrier. And so we put in this thing is, hey, even when we're saying goodbye, we got to make it a classy goodbye. Hey, customer, sorry we couldn't meet your needs at this time. Hopefully, next time in the future, if we've got something with the right place to do business with, we have all your information anyway. We can work together in the future. By the way, do you need lost runs? Here's a cancellation request for all the carriers. We're going to turn off all the ACH. And just make it real classy. Let the exit be really memorable because at some point they'll be shopping again and hopefully they'll be back. And separate from that, we have a personal lines team and a commercial team and leadership team and all that other stuff. Just keeping all the parts connected because ultimately we're trying to grow in a tough market, right? The sales numbers are not as high as they used to be, but we need to struggle to retain more. We don't want to, bleed on both ends. But at the same time, we got to step up the service level to a whole new level, even though it feels like we're short staffed and customers are calling more than before. We got to get around it. We're working later. We're opening earlier. We're doing everything we can to just make sure our customers know that they're a priority to us as well.
And do you feel that that disruption with the hard market has actually created more opportunities? Is the phone ringing more with folks that are out shopping because their agent may not be getting back to them or not following through on their service model? I always feel like there's a little bit of an opportunity when there's this type of disruption as well.
You're exactly right. There is that element of it where people are shopping more, you're getting more phone calls, but I don't see that we're binding more. I don't see that. We're maybe getting a bigger pool to quote from, but I also think it's burning our people out, right? They have more things to touch. Whether that's allowing them to be as thorough as they used to be, that's left to be seen at this point. But as definitely, we're getting more leads. We always had a high amount of leads and calls from all the marketing that we do online, et cetera, et cetera. But it's a very interesting time. Only time will tell.
Yeah, it is that phone ringing. We definitely noticed that. And like you said, we have our marketing, we do our social media stuff, but now we noticed, as the market's gotten harder, people are calling to shop. So that is, yeah, that's definitely part of the advantage. I mean, I like how Craig says that's something you can take advantage of, as exhausting as it is a thing you can add on for your sales goals. What are some key ways you think from an agency perspective and that you have found over the trajectory of your career are the best ways to build an effective relationship after the sale with the client?
Very good question. So I always say to the customer, after the sale, in most businesses, after they do the sale, that's it. The item is sold, it's goodbye. For us, that's the beginning of the relationship, right? It starts now for real.
True.
They're now a client, you got to serve them. So we use technology. We always had a CRM that allows us to, there's so many touch points. Actually, I did this activity we had a customer experience team retreat. We took them out to South Carolina, Myrtle Beach, and we spent the weekend with them. And one of the things I had them do is to plot all the customer contact points. It turns out 75% of customer contact is actually on the service side. Right? If you track, happy birthday calls and all those other things, even sending ID cards, renewal notices, all of that is service. So the salespeople are touching only about 25% of the time. And in typical agency, we tend to focus on the salespeople. That's great. Nothing happens without a sale. I get that. But the service people are touching the customer 75% of the time. So I made them a t-shirt that listed all the different things, all the different touch points to keep that focus. And I created a word cloud of all the buzzwords that it takes for us to retain a client. And I explained to the team, understand this. Salespeople are critical. We do all we need to do to get the client in, but we don't do much to keep the client with us. There is no true growth without retention, right? If you're writing 10 and you're writing 10 and you're losing 10, you're in the same spot, right? The proverbial wheel. So we want to keep as much as we can of the 10 we wrote and then build on it, and you see true growth. So they understood that, and I think it's really critical. So we have the digital medium. We also don't believe in phone trees. So you won't hear my phone line say press 1 for service or press 2 for sales. We just don't have that. We want to talk straight to the client. I've tried it before many years ago. My clients told me to take that crap off. Excuse my French. But they did ask me to take it off. They say, we want to talk to you. You're a local agent. We want to talk to you. We don't want to hear press 1, press 2. I said, you know what? You're right. I turned it off, and I've never used it till this day, nearly 20 years later.
I'm gonna do that. I'm so glad you said that, because we have that, and a couple of our clients, we just implemented that, and there's an intro, and they don't like it. So thank you for saying that. I'm gonna take that.
The only thing you hear on our line is that the calls are being recorded or monitored for training purposes. That's it. You're getting a live person, and we take it from there. Now there is the capacity drain that you always have to staff a receptionist or two, but it's good that when the client finally is transferred to the sales agent, they're going to the right person and no more transfers. If it's a service call, it goes straight to the service team.
Okay.
For us, that still makes a difference. A tough value proposition in today's world where, with inflation and everything else, but we're doing the best we can to sustain and maintain it that way.
Yeah, I love it. Service, like you said, I love those t-shirts. The service is for the relationships, and I think it's in every industry. It's so important in ours, obviously, because people complain about that in all industries, that they get the sales in, you buy your vacuum cleaner or whatever it is, and then you don't. But you do. We're such a relationship business, in an industry that the service is 75-25. We love our sales. I love sales so much, and you don't have a business if you don't have service.
That's correct. That's correct.
Absolutely. And I love what you said there. It's so impactful to get a human on the phone, right? We all experience that when we're talking and when we're calling out to our carrier partners and different places that we do business with. If you got to wait and push a button and push another button, or now it's the voice recording, right? When you say, put your policy number in or whatever it is, and then it doesn't hear you properly and it keeps asking you to repeat, that can be very frustrating. So from a client's perspective, I think that's a great idea to eliminate that tree. And I'm glad to hear that you've had some success with that. Also, a man of many talents, besides making me the second best looking bald guy on this podcast today, an author, you have your own podcast, business owner, singer, and you also have a sales consulting business. Can you tell us a little bit more about some of those other things that you're doing on top of running your successful agency?
Yeah, I heard from a very wise business owner many, many years ago. Actually, I'll put his name out there. It's Mark Vitale. Mark Vitale is a great insurance agent. He's mentored me more ways than one, actually based in North Carolina. And I think he's retired now, and his son runs the operation. All About Insurance is their business name. But Mark taught me many years ago that if you want to enjoy what you do, even in the insurance business, make sure you feed your other passions. So I've been a singer many years. I've recorded multiple albums. I just came back from Nigeria. My band had a homecoming. But separate from that, I have the gift of public speaking. So I do that. I write books. I got that from my father and all that good stuff. So it's really important to feed the other sides of you, all the gifts that you're blessed with, even as you develop other skills. So that sort of led me to the consulting company where when I started this business, my mother-in-law only, was able to give me so much. She had been in business 18 years, and there was only so much she could give me for the world that I was going into. Today, if we try to give advice to a young insurance agent coming into this industry, it would sound very different than the last 10 years we've been in this business. And that's exactly where she found herself. Like, here are some tools. So I had to go digging. I had to get off the phone. I had to make calls, research, take classes. And I realized very quickly that if I waited to have 40 years experience per policy, per claim, to then look back and say, okay, I feel good, it's going to take me way too long to get there. So I started to sign up for courses, and that's why I have an alphabet soup behind my name if you look at my LinkedIn. But it was my commitment to go find answers. And turns out these organizations do a fantastic job. It doesn't matter which one of them you use. They put the content that you need to be better equipped as an insurance professional, that you feel good enough to give the right advice, because now you've got, a spectrum of things that you must remember as you package policies and things like that. So I always recommend to people, go out there, educate yourself and learn. And so fast forward 2017, I'd been giving advice to my own friends, insurance agents, like, how did you build your website? Okay, go here. How did you do that? Go there. How did you know to do that? I don't know. I made 10 phone calls and I found this spot. They're better rate. So give all these recommendations, but sometimes people don't follow through until they have skin in the game, right? They got to pay something. And that was my wife's idea. She was like, I swear if you charge them, they'll take these things seriously. So I sat down and came up with, how can I help another business? Turns out I had business owners and friends who reached out to me, hey, we would like to learn from you. And I said, well, I have a program. I just don't want to charge you for it. But they're like, please charge me. So I built this consulting company, and I'm glad to say 7 insurance agents in different markets went through my program. They're all 7 still in business today. And the best thing they told me at the end of my program, when they each graduated, They asked me to double my fee because I was overcommitted. Of course, I'll be overcommitted. I want them to win. I'm not going to make a fool of myself. I'm giving my blood, sweat, and tears. I want them to do better than me. That's the goal, right? But of
Yes.
course, it's very time consuming. But I learned a lot through the process because now I'm taking, like 7 different businesses and how we're similar and even different challenges in different markets, and I'm able to give tips and recommendations. We're able to dive deep together and find unique solutions to solve each of these things around operations, marketing, and what have you. Even changing the mindset of the business owner. That is always my first module of my program. I call it the Business Owner 2.0. You got to take yourself, your mind, your beliefs, and you need to transform that. If you don't exercise, you will exercise. If you're not reading, you will read. I will check in with you. If you're not a member of the 5 a.m. club, you will be. Guess what? And you will find out what a 5 a.m. club is. I will be checking it, right? And I also made sure my customers understood. I am your friend. You know me. We've shared a couple of dinners together. Great. But as your coach, it's a whole different ball game. If I recommend you read a book and I come in and you're bullshitting, I will exit the meeting for the day. It's not a joke. I cannot care more about your growth and your success and your life balance than you care for it yourself, right? So I come to and I've walked away from a few meetings. They were bullshitting me about what the book is about. I'm like, you haven't started reading the book, have you? Nah, not really. I've not gotten too deep. What are you doing on your drive to work? You're talking to your mom? She's there after you get to work. She's there all day. You can call her after hours. But if you're not going to take the content seriously and what we're trying to accomplish here, don't waste my time. I don't have a lot of it. So let's just call it what it is and let's be serious. But it's good. It feels good to look back today. They're all still in business and we're still friends, even better.
That's a great success. Excellent success. And I love what you said there, right? You shouldn't be working harder for somebody else's success than they're willing to work for it, and holding people
really
accountable.
shouldn't.
And that's really what's given you those results, I believe, with the 7 that you mentioned, is that you take that stance with them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that you want, you talked about that positive mindset, and Craig alluded to this earlier about how you are, yes, you visualize in this and the universe and God and, blessed you and your work, your hard work and positive attitude and energy. And that's the hard work and positive energy that you're giving over to your students in this program. As a teacher, you are really wanting them to be successful too. And then, like you said, even more successful than you are. The teacher wants the student to be more successful than they are. And that's paying it forward. And I love that. Where do we sign up?
I am actually, to your point, I have been invited by multiple agency owners recently to please bring the program back because I had to take a break. As they said, I was overcommitted. So I am bringing the program back. And I look forward to the things that I'm going to learn and how we can adapt, work together more collaboratively and help each other. A lot of us lose business. We don't have access to markets. We have friends who do. We just don't tap into these resources. Some of us are laying employees off, or we're adding employees, or we know an employee that's looking for a job, or we know another employer who needs someone. When we're connected, we can easily share. And I've done the same. I've been able to send an employee that I had laid off, but she was very talented, and I had fired her because she was just not showing up, but she had the experience. She gets to the other agency. She's the best thing since sliced bread. Why? She learned from her mistakes. But secondly, it worked best for the business owner that they didn't have to start training. This person had been with me 7 years. So you get that kind of person, they hit the ground running. You just need to give them their login code. So there are a lot of symbiotic ways we can support each other. And so I'm bringing the program back. We're building the website and all the tools that we need to support each other. I think it's a great element to get us through the season. So I look forward to it.
Exciting.
It really is. Thank you, Emmanuel, so much for sharing your story, your gifts, your success. And then where do we find you? Your website,
sure.
Alpha Direct,
Yes.
Twitter, Instagram, all the places.
I'm on all the spots. If you go to your Amazon shopping cart, that's the best place to find me. You can find this book there. It's also the name of my podcast, Recode, 8 Mind Hacks for the Small Business Owner. The bottom line of what inspired me to write this book is in America, we talk about small businesses. Me and the guy with 100 employees, there's nowhere we're the same, right? So I have right now I have 12 employees, but if you put me in the classification as 100 employees or less, small business owners, the resources that we need are not the same. The way we access those things are not the same. And so I wrote this book for much smaller business owners. You find yourself 10 or under, 20 or under, you need help with certain things. You think you can do certain things, like have some of the best employee benefit programs. You can. It's just about your mindset. The Alpha Direct employees, how do people stay here 10 years or more? 60% of my employees have been with the company 10 years or more. It's because we have some of the best PTO programs. You work at Alpha Direct, you can get 6 to 8 months paid time off. How? It is possible. You got to just use this and design a program. That's just the tip of the iceberg. A lot of other programs we've put in place. So in the book Recode, I put a lot of that stuff there. Where can you find me? LinkedIn, Amazon, everywhere you can find a professional. I'm in all the places. I will send you guys my link tree as well. And it's an easy place to find me, including my music on Spotify, iTunes, and everywhere.
Yes,
Absolutely.
please.
I love what you said there about feeding your other passions. That's it's so easy to get dragged in and just focus on one thing, right? Our career, our work, our career. But you're proof that you can do a lot of other things.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel, for doing this. I really appreciate your patience with my email situation. Good grief.
No problem at all. Anytime. Thank you for the exposure and thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Great
Of
talking with you
course.
both.
Next to Now is hosted by Jackie Kelly-Caton and Craig Van Epps and produced by Michael Abbott.
Music by Michael Bullock.
Logo designed by Craig Van Epps and Maddie Tomkos.
And a special thank you to the whole Big I team for all of your support. Thank you so much.
Thank you.